Hi everyone and welcome to Priority Holder, and today we're going to be playing Black White All That Glitters in the Explorer format. Now I just love this card. I've made a number of videos with All That Glitters. It's just super fun effect, and what it does is enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment you control. And sort of a companion sister card to it is Michiko's Reign of Truth, which is a saga that gives you 2 one-time burst effects of that same wording, and then turns into a creature that gets +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment you control. So that's sort of like the redundancy in this deck. And when I play, I like a package with Alseid of Life's Bounty. It's versatile, gives it lifelink, and it can also give you protection from colors. And Pious Wayfarer just gets you extra triggers when all the enchantments are entering the battlefield. And as far as and then Karametra's Blessing helps shield the enchantment or enchanted creatures. God's Willing is sort of just like an extra copy of it. And the interaction on the white side is Heliod's Punishment. It only lasts for 4 turns, but it's often plenty of time. And I like how it just removes all abilities from the creatures, so it can take out some really nasty things that would otherwise be happening to you. Now when you pair this with black, you have some interesting things. You have a lot of options, but what I went with is sort of like the version that's similar to what I played when Luris was legal and standard, and you could see the low curve of this deck sort of reflects how good that was. Aphemia is an evasive enchantment creature, but can also help you grind out games by getting free zombie tokens at the end of your turn just by exiling extra enchantments that died. And I also like how black gets you an extra 1-drop in Hateful Eidolon, so once again another lifelink creature, but also lets you draw cards whenever creatures die that have your auras attached to them. And so you can sort of impose that upon your opponents by hitting them with Mogis Favor, like on their Llanowar Elves or something like that, and drawing cards. Mogis Favor also can be an offensive tool if you attach it to a creature that's been boosted by All That Glitters, for example. And then Mire's Grasp, just sort of like a removal spell in this deck. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You're just trying to surprise opponents out the gate with lots of damage. Now, I had been on hiatus for a bit and missed the fact that, where'd it go? That Ethereal Armor had been added to the game. So I was very excited, but I just didn't think I'd be able to quickly parse all the enchantments and figure out how I wanted to do it. So decided just to run it close to sort of like the old-fashioned version, and then figure out Ethereal Armor soon. So that's coming in the near future. But anyway, thanks for watching, and let's jump into some games. Alright, game number 1. The hand is a little sketchy. It could be really good, like all these Mogis Favor, but ended up mulliganing. Keep that. And now it's the question of what to put back. Decide to put back one of the creatures and keep 2 creatures to interaction. We'll see if that turns out to be a good choice. And we see a turn 1 Llanowar Elves. Now the mana situation is a little awkward. I could have ran out Alseid of Life's Bounty right then, but decided to prioritize being able to do a 2 mana play next turn. And then we see opponent appears to be on some ramp deck. So at first I thought it was like elves, but now it seems like they're on like a devotion style deck. So trying to trim down their mana and their devotion, just decide to cut down Llanowar Elves. Then we see Kiora. Kiora is bad news for us. It generates mana, it can draw them cards. That was an excellent draw right there, Mogis Favor. We can just keep trimming down their devotion and also cutting down their mana sources. So opt for Aphemia, then hit it with Mogis Favor. And excellent opportunity to just exile Mire's Grasp to get a zombie token. There is some that is it's sort of cannibalizing our graveyard for escaping Mogis Favor, but just decided it was worth for the zombie. And this is why Kiora is such a problem. So they play the Old Growth Troll, they get to draw a card. Anyway, so we got to figure out what to do. Now we have ways to deal with the old growth troll. We're not super concerned with that, so decide to slam Heliod's punishment on it. Just, we won't have to worry about it for a while. Now here's where I think I make a mistake. I send them both to the player. I think I should have just sent them at Kiora, because Kiora can just cause them to snowball so quickly. And then you'll also see something they do here which I just didn't anticipate. And this is a hard decision. I end up deciding, you know what, let's just get the zombie, let's get them dead. It is tempting to like hold it, the favor in the graveyard to kill the Llanowar or the Elvish Mystic. But I didn't anticipate filling up the graveyard too quickly anyway. So opponent makes an elf and a wolf. And here's the interaction I didn't foresee. They tap Old Growth Troll, then they activate Kiora to untap it, and so it's just making the Heliod's punishment last way shorter than it would otherwise. So I'm realizing now, okay, Kiora has to die, like that's just too much of a problem. Now I send everyone at Kiora. Now interestingly, they trade wolves, chump with one elf, and then Kiora takes a little bit of chip damage. At this point, we have spare copies of Aphemia, which is not the biggest problem because we can play a fresh one, Legend Rule or the old one, and then when Aphemia triggers, we have something in the graveyard now to make another zombie. So I'm feeling pretty great at this point, but things can, you know, get out of control really quickly against this deck. And unfortunately now, Kiora has freed Old Gold Troll from our little prison. So they're able to shed the last counter, and now Old Gold Troll is ready again. So opponent makes a bunch of green mana. They play Wolf Willow Haven. They pass to us. Now that's always what we want to see, all that glitters. Like that's what the whole deck's built around, you know, is abusing that effect. Now, like, well, I'm sure I want to put it on the flyer. Like, I'm just trying to think of how to effectively attack here, and it seems pretty straightforward. Send 2 zombies at Kiora and Aphemia at them, and this is just great. You know, Kiora's down no matter what. Old Gold Troll is not going to kill us anytime soon, and opponent's on a clock now. And yeah, that also gives us, you know, well, yeah, we get a free zombie, so we're feeling great, and we also have Alseid as protection, and that's it. On to the next game. So that was an interesting game against Green Devotion. Went about as good as you can hope, so we'll have to see how this goes. Lead with the Alseid of Life's Bounty. Forest, pass. You know, it is something to play like the Wayfarer to maybe get a little more enchantment trigger equity, but I think it's just so much value to getting Michiko's Reign of Truth out quickly, not to mention locking a little life gain. So opt just for the more aggressive play. So turn 2 Llanowar can't be what the opponent was wanting to happen. And decide just to go guns blazing here. Cut down Llanowar with Mire's Grass. We're going to get, you know, we want to chop down their mana production if we can, and we get the little bonus enchantment trigger to hammer in a little extra damage here. So opponent, it's their turn 3, and they're already down to 13 life, so we're feeling pretty great. Elvish Visionary. So as you know, we could tell now we're playing against green-black elves, but their mana situation just has not been great. They haven't been able to spew out their hand. And because it's a saga, it flipped and triggered our Wayfarer again. And just wanted to make it so both things could attack. They end up just chumping here, which is sort of surprising, unless they have like a board wipe or something. But it's good for us. Notice that I had the Heliod's intervention, opted just to save it, though, you know, chipping and damage right there just didn't seem important. But they play Circle of Dreams Druid, taking a damage off their Llanowar Waste, notably. Have a couple Wayfarer triggers, and, you know, creatures shifting around almost caused me to misclick onto the summoning sick one a couple times. But it just so happens if we slam Heliod's Punishment that we saved last turn on this, not only are we going to shut down their mana, turns out the opponent's just dead right here. I didn't actually math it out, but it turns out to be a nice little nifty attack, and that is it. That's what we like to see. So, on to the next game. Now the mana situation is really rough. The hand's great, the lands are not great. We have 2 turns of tap lands, just going to really hold back our development. Opponent doesn't play anything. And really wanted to get Hateful Eidolon out there so we could start slamming Mogis' Favor on stuff, maybe draw some cards. Now here's a card, it's my first time playing against a battle, and yeah, so they're playing the invasion card, and they basically get to like steal, basically tax a card in our hand. And once they've attacked the battle enough times, it flips and they gain another benefit. Now this is a tough choice. Like, I could play, the mana just is not great right now. If I play Alseid, I can hold up to protection, but then we're not really advancing. If I gamble on all that glitters, it's more mana efficient. So I decided just to gamble and go all that glitters. Maybe I should have been more conservative, just play Alseid first and wait till we get 3 lands just to keep the creature protected, because it does... It's just a risky play. So we see Giant Killer gets a free spirit off the Clarion Spirit. So that's not great. And we could see already what kind of deck they are. This is a tokens deck. If they flip the battle, it gets extra counters for all their attacking creatures post-combat. Now I definitely want Heliod's Punishment something. Ups the enchantment count, and decide Clarion Spirit's the most threatening thing because it's just going to help them go wide so quickly. And this is a shields down moment again. We have the Alseid, but Clarion Spirit just seemed like too dangerous to leave out, like just giving them too many chump blockers, a big army. Once again, maybe could have held up Karametra's Blessing or something, since we know they have Giant Killers, and get punished for it right here. So Giant Killer takes down our Eidolon. We do get a card out of it, but we really don't like seeing all that glitters disappear. And now the opponent, we don't have any good blocks. They're going to start hammering the battle, trying to get its effect unlocked. Mogis' Favor, just nice mana efficient way to cut something down. Just analyzing the plays here. End up just taking down a spirit, playing another Alseid of Life's Bounty, and now holding up protection. But honestly, it's a little too late. And you could see like the stumbling on mana early on, like having the first 2 lands enter tapped, really sort of hampered our development, where we would have been able to hold up mana had we sort of been able to spill the hand out a little sooner. And this is why sometimes you really don't want to rush playing all that glitters. Sometimes you'll catch people with, you know, without removal and you just kill them. But this was a rough instance, and so now they've unlocked their battle, and they get this enchantment that keeps giving bonuses to. So their opponent's deck is just awesome. So you actually cast the back of the battle, so it counts as a second spell for their creature that picks up counters, and so now the attackers get counters. Thankfully, we're able to pad our life total a little bit, and we'll continue to pad our life total with Michiko's Reign of Truth. Now, could send both attackers in to try and bait them into like blocking, and then we can use the pump spell, but that once again would put his shields down. But the opponent has Resolute Reinforcement, so they're all in on this like tokens plan, but also gives them a lot of chump blockers for our plan. Now the good part is because we're gaining so much life, we're able to sort of just ignore them for a few turns. So here, you know, they get the send in. Problem is, it's just going to keep getting worse for us. And you can see now that I've transitioned to triple speed, because this is where, as you can see, things start going downhill for us. They're able to play out a ton of stuff, convoke this awesome knight, which lets them refill their hand, and their creatures are growing. And so, because of this Michiko's Reign of Truth, we're able to, keep pumping, keep attacking, and you can see my timer burning down because I'm really trying to think this through. But by doing this, we're able to get some attacks in and lock in some more life gain. So they are like almost dead, but their army's growing so fast. And then this is the backbreaker right here. Them taking our cheap source of like an extra couple points of damage. That's basically game right there. Being able to tax away our other Karametra's Blessing basically sealed the game for them. So they keep hammering us. They get a lot of triggers. Their army is now massive. But we actually have a pretty decent turn here. Trying to figure out what's going on, or what to do. We could play Aphemia, get a zombie. I'm trying to figure out here is what kind of attacks to make, if any. And opponent, held up giant killer right there. I think I made a mistake here by not chipping in for little damage, like play Pious Wayfarer, play Aphemia. I might have been able to not only chip in for damage, but lock in some life gain, because I should have anticipated they're going to tap down the Reign of Truth. So that was a mistake on my part. I could have chipped in a little bit more damage and locked in some life gain. Now this is desperation mode. Like, I'm trying to do enough blocking to stay alive, because with how much like insane pump spells we have going on in the deck, like, it's not out of the question and we can kill them next turn. But opponent has left back a white creature, and I can agonize over it for a little bit. Like, I can give it pro white, but if I play Mogis Favor, it just kills the creature and that's it. So a disappointing ending, but it was a very fun interactive battle against mono white tokens, and like a sort of a new flavor I've never seen before. So that was really fun. Unfortunately, have to mulligan. It sucks giving up non-land cards, but I had just come off the back of sort of a mana screwed game where normally 3 lands would be perfect, but coming in, when they come into play tapped, like last game, it can be really rough. But those cards they taxed last game was, cheating us out of that mana was exactly what needed to happen for them. Alright, so still, the opponent could be on anything right now with Fabled Passage. But we just go ahead and slam Michiko's Reign of Truth. We're able to hit them for a ton of damage right here. Opponent decides to crack their Fabled Passage. And now we could finally get our attack in. So, got them down to 17, feeling okay about that. Our follow-up in our hand is pretty weak though. Blue, black, and pass. So, it looks like there's some sort of control deck, possibly. Have to see what they got going on. Attempt to play Alseid of Life's Bounty. And before we can get into play and hold up protection, they end up killing our creature. So opponent passes again. Still not quite sure what they're playing. We're just going to try and do our plan as best as possible. And they go ahead and fire off an Edict spell right here, forcing us to sacrifice our only creature before this one flips. And now we're pretty sad that we bottomed that God's Willing. That could have been... It seems like it would have been good against this deck. And especially because we start flooding out. So you never know. I went on the safe side of keeping 3 lands. Maybe should have just kept to knowing like how low our curve is. So they play a Fairy Mastermind, a card I haven't played against before. And they play another battle. This one mills us, and then if they knock the counters off, flips into a... Basically lets you like eternalize something for free. Turns into like a free 4/4 copy of something in the graveyard. The opponent, because they have the 2/2 flyer, able to just crash in right away. Notably, the opponent shocked in a land to keep up 2 mana, so we had to keep that in mind. We do have 2 sources of interaction. We can escape Mogis' Favor or hit them with Mire's Grasp. Now, if we lead with Pious Wayfarer, we'll get the extra attack trigger, but I anticipated a counter spell against blue, so keeping both forms of interaction up. And of course, they have it. And yeah, so we just go ahead and use the second removal spell. We're trying just to not flip that battle right there, or let them flip the battle, because that's bad for us. However, opponent decides to take it into their own hands, play Rankle. At least when they're, Rankle has triggers when it hits a player, so they're not getting those, but unfortunately they're getting a very powerful creature now. So the Invasion of Amonkhet flips, and here comes their creature, an improved version of their fairy, and they have Fatal Push, so it's essentially over. So we flooded out a bit, but they also had just right interaction and just nice little synergy going on. So we'll move on to the next game. Swamp, and then a 1/1 toxic creature. So we're playing against presumably a toxic deck. And we have Hateful Eidolon plus, killing auras. So very excited. Definitely run that out first. And we'll happily no block, but we start picking up the poison counters. The opponent plays another toxic creature, this one with flying. And here's where Hateful Eidolon shines. It's just gonna be an absolute massacre right here. Lead with Pious Wayfarer to get the enchantment, get the constellation triggers. And we just hit the 2/1 with Mogis' Favor. Sure, that one does have recursion, but the fact that we can bring Mogis' Favor back means we can just keep using it. We get to draw a card. All that glitters, yes please. And smack them for 2. So we are gaining life, though it's not that important against what Toxic's trying to do. They're trying to kill us with the 10 poison counter, so the life gain that we're getting is not that important to them, in combating what they're doing. Now it seems like they're going to have some proliferate spells based on the 2/1 flyers they have, so I have to keep that in mind. And I'm about to play this on the white side, but then realize we have another white source, so I play it on the black side. And go ahead and fire off Mire's Grasp. This is just going to do a lot for us. It's going to give us multiple Pious Wayfarer triggers, and we're going to get to draw a card off Hateful Eidolon, and it's going to fill our graveyard to eventually escape Mogis' Favor. Splitting up the triggers in case they have a Fatal Push. Want to keep chipping in as much damage as possible. Alright, so they play an Edict spell. Just sacrifice one of our Wayfarers, not a big loss. It does get us another poison counter through the proliferation though. Oh no, actually not proliferate, just should have gives us one. So we are sitting at 4 poison counters, so it's not nothing. We have to be careful they don't string off a bunch of proliferation spells, but it does feel like we're in the driver's seat now. Escaping Mogis' Favor to cut down their last creature and draw another card. This is just good living right here. Pious Wayfarer triggers again. And decide to just play it safe. Could throw out the Alseid of Life's Bounty, but decide just to keep up Karametra's Blessing just in case they get fancy. So opponent passes with 2 cards in hand. Trying to figure out what's going on with that. So there is a priority pass, they have something going on, or at least making it seem that way. Play the enchantment, and now slam all that glitters. So we have 2 different forms of protection up for our Alseid. We have, for the Hateful Eidolon. And once again, spreading the triggers out just to diversify our threats. We have Karametra's Blessing and, sacrificing the Alseid of Life's Bounty. Send in. An opponent attempts to bounce something with the, proliferate, but we're able to use Karametra's Blessing to fizzle the spell. And opponent has seen enough at this point. And that's it. Alright, so that's black, white, all that glitters, and we did okay, went 3 and 2, and got to see some of the vulnerabilities and strengths of the deck. I mean, it's just amazing when Hateful Eidolon gets to go off and you're just killing creatures with Mogis Favor over and over. If the deck feels unbeatable when you can do that, but that doesn't always work depending on the matchup. But yeah, you could see the explosive power of all that glitters and Michiko's Reign of Truth. It's a lot of fun. So, but yeah, let me know in the comments, what's your favorite black or white enchantment? Anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.